Hi, I am Dana. I am a USA Today bestselling author. I'm a developmental editor, and I am the chief storyteller at Danger Tales. Welcome back to my audio newsletter for Danger Tales that I have dubbed Steamy Side Hustle. And this is our second edition. So if you're new around these here parts, don't worry, you're not the only one. This is only the second edition. But I decided when I came back with my newsletter that I wanted to do this sort of behind the scenes sort of kind of vibe. I remember back in the day when Oprah used to have this after the show, and I used to love that show more than the actual show because she would just sit on the couch and talk about what she was surprised by, what she learned, what she would take away, all from the episode that we had just finished watching. And I always loved that. The other part of this is I feel like newsletters sometimes can be stuffy. And as someone who people invite me into a very intimate space in their lives, that you really got to know me and you got to really know that I'm silly, but I'm a taskmaster, that I'm a writer just like you, and that I understand a lot of what you're experiencing, and not just as a coach, but as a fellow writer. So for today's edition, we're about to get started. Now, as a reminder, I have a bad habit of editing while I read. My husband hates it. I can't stop it, okay? And yeah, we're gonna get into this. So I don't know if I said it last time, but you will see the title. But this is the title that I have: Unpopular Opinion about why labeling romance as just smut ignores its emotional impact. Romance changes lives. Yes, I said it and I'm not taking it back. Okay. Last week, I told you why I almost deleted this entire email list, but I didn't tell you why I'm back. And I did a little bit, but not a lot, right? The truth is, I'm more passionate than ever about helping writers write addictive romance. Why? Because adulting is overrated. Now, I'm going to hit a hard pause here. One of the things that I feel like was the greatest experience that I had was when I first started writing romance. Well, my first novel was a romantic suspense, and all of the steamy parts were closed doors. And I felt like, okay, I was close to something. I did it on a dare. Okay, I was working. And then when I decided I wanted to write romance, I wrote Sweet. And I loved the story, but I didn't really connect to it as much. And it took a while for me to realize was because it was missing the steamy parts. And, and I think one of the things about romance is the fact that people always get it tangled up with the chandelier swinging. And that's what I call all the sexy steamy times, right? The chandelier steam swinging. And there's so much more to romance novels than that. And so, as someone who reads when I want to reset, who reads when I want to escape, who reads just about every time I need to kind of pause on what's going on around me, almost as like this decompression. I can understand it from the perspective of readers. I am a writer and a reader of what I write. And I like to bring this unique perspective to my experience as a writer, as a coach, and as a reader. So let's keep going. So, adulting is overrated. Worst of all, it creates a ripple effect. Like we're too old, too thick, too single, too late to do something different. And the sad thing is, most romance readers want to escape and get lost in a world where love wins. But they get caught up in work, bills, and life. And then we're stuck in reality, and dreaming seems to escape our grasp. This was so important for me to kind of like nail down. And I was like that too thick, too old, too single, too late. It's not just in the stories that we tell, it's in our lives. I can't tell you the number of clients that I work with that thought it was too late for them to do it, or they had to wait until they were in retirement to write. And I really feel like if we don't have the opportunity to dream, how can you ever get out of your situation? How can you ever aspire to something different? Especially as someone, for me, who I live a life and do a job and run a business that I never saw anyone do before in my life or do it the way that I do it. And I wouldn't have had that if I didn't have the opportunity to dream and to mold this thing in a way that feels right for me. I think the flip side is we get so caught up in what is, so much so that we don't have time to think about what could be. The good news is it doesn't have to be like this. So I told you all, I believe, a little bit in the first edition of this, which was last week. Hashtag she's on number 2. Um, and I when I decided to do this, when I decided to go into being a developmental editor, I sat down and I thought about what would my dream job be? How would I want to spend my days? And I just knew without hesitation it had to involve books. And now I can't imagine if I wouldn't have had that opportunity. But I don't think I would have ever even thought about it had I not been such an avid reader. And so I want you to think about more than what is and to give yourself the room and the space to think about what could be. You know, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't even have to be all today. It can just be that you give yourself permission to dream a little, to let the reins go a little bit and dream. You can write books that have your characters swinging on the chandeliers and depicting the kind of love that leaves your readers filled with hope and inspiration. Romance novels are, I told y'all I edit. oh, sorry, not sorry. Romance novels are not just smut, although some would proudly wave their smutty novels in the air. Romance is sweet, dark, slow burn, edgy, emotional, and funny. It's all these things and more. And you can write in a way that highlights diverse cultures, body positivity, fidelity, and happily ever afters that make readers believe in true love. So here's where I feel like it's one of my, like, what would I say? Unique, what is that? USP or unique selling propositions, or it is my superpower, or it is my zone of genius. It is this understanding of how romance novels are the novel because, listen, it could probably be a better way I could say that, but we just gonna let us rock with it. But it is because it deals with one of the most foundational and fundamental aspects of humanity, love. Like when you look, if you stare at the chandelier parts, you're missing so much more. And one of the things that I probably found that made me value being a romance writer even more and being a coach to romance writers was when I started explaining this to new writers of how the evolution and the change of characters in romance novels are unlike any other novels you will ever encounter. Now, listen, there are some that skirt this whole thing, but that's like that for everybody. Like, we all got somebody in the family where we're like, "Ugh," but it's, hey, we love you all the same. We need balance. You got to have both sides of it. But it's the fact that there is a type of transformation that happens to characters in romance novels that people reading them can truly identify with. Who doesn't want love? That's all right. I'll wait. Very few people will um, be able to say that they do not want intimate relationships in their lives that are life changing, that make them want to be a better person, a stronger person, a more protective person, a more loving person, a more engaged person. And this is what you find in romance novels. Y'all probably thinking, Dana, what romance novels? When what romance novels are you reading? But they are, even in dark romance. Like, some you got to get through the murky parts for some people, but it really does highlight the evolution and the change of an individual when love takes a hold of them. And so I think that it really can change lives, because when a reader is engaging that story, the stakes for that person are low. If they were encountering the same situation in their lives, the stakes would be off the, what is it, radar, Richter, whatever they call it. It would be so high that they would probably not do it, because the stakes would be too high. The cost would be too high. But in a novel, the cost was $5, $10, $3, $1, and some time, right? And it does give you, the writer, the opportunity to truly change lives and change the way that people see love. You can abandon the outdated model of one size fits all and have the kind of romance that helps you to envision your happily ever after too. This is the work I've been doing with clients over the past 20 years, even while I took a bit of an email hiatus. And so, one of the other parts of this zone of genius for me is that there was this aha moment that happened for me, oh, I don't know when, some time back. And it was this thought that we as romance writers have a huge responsibility. Think about it. Whenever a reader buys your book and they're reading your story, and if you haven't finished the story, what are you waiting on, sis? Or bruh? I don't know, I say it like that. Bruh. Oh, what are you waiting on? But when they read your story, they are inviting you into a very sacred and precious space. They're trusting you with the space between their ears. Think about it. When someone reads your story, they're reading with their eyes. It's going straight from their eyes into their head. Now, if you're doing audiobooks, it's going from your ears to your head, but still, it's almost like a direct shot right into their brains. And they're inviting you in. And that's a big responsibility. And to me, I have had the joy of, both on the writing side and on the coach side, to be able to help people to go into that space with care, to have a transformation, not just for the reader, but for the writer. Because every book I've ever written, no matter how I've done it, I've taken a piece of it with me, and it's taken a piece of me with it. Because it changes lives on both ends of that spectrum. But there are only so many hours in a day, and I can't personally work with everyone. So I'm regularly sending emails again to get this info into the hands of more closet romance writers. Are you a closet romance writer? Come on, tell the truth. Tell me the truth. And tell me in the comments if you're watching this. I'll be writing about plotting, self-editing, and writing using alternative methods like dictation, AI, and collaborations. And if these emails help even one person write the end on their romance novel, it'll be worth it. So that is officially our second edition of Steamy Side Hustle. Now, the PS on this week's email is this. Tell me what you want to hear from me next. If you are watching this on YouTube or somewhere in the world, listen, y'all need to share this. Go ahead and get it out. Help your girl out. But if you're watching this or if you're listening to it in the podcast, because you can listen to it in the podcast, or if you are reading this, well, if you were hearing me, you wouldn't be reading it, but you know what I mean, then definitely let us know. So you have different ways that you can reply. If you're on YouTube or somewhere or on Facebook or wherever, go ahead and go to the comment section and let me know what you would like to hear from me next. Or share your thoughts. You know, what are some of those things that hold you back from telling your stories? I would love to hear that, or even some unpopular opinions that you feel differently about. And I would love to be able to add some of these to my list of future email topics. Y'all help your girl out. That's all I'm saying. So with that said, I will see you all hopefully sooner than later. And I'm still working on my closing, but I will leave you with this. If you have a story in you, it is your responsibility to find a way to share that story with the world. We need it, and we need your voice. So with that said, your girl is out. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you all hopefully sooner than later. Take care and happy writing.
Yeah. I've been down so in love like. I've been down so in love like. I've been down so in love like. I've been